discovered my wife's ongoing affair with her high school crush, exposed them at her reunion, and kicked her out. I was married to my ex-wife for almost 4 years, but unfortunately we had to go our separate ways because she did the unthinkable. My ex-wife and I met at a business seminar in town. We were there to listen to a renowned business guest speaker, and coincidentally we sat beside each other. Throughout the seminar, we occasionally talked about a couple of things, which mostly had to do with the things we learned, and after the seminar was over, we exchanged contacts. We started talking, and about a week later we decided to go out for lunch. As we had lunch that day, I was puzzled at how intelligent she was and her passion for business. And after our first date, we saw each other more often. Eventually, we ended up dating because I fell in love with her, and 8 months later, we married. We were married for almost 4 years before I found out she had been making a fool out of me. I'd love to add that while my ex-wife and I were married, there was nothing she wanted that I didn't give her. I was still, I'm a businessman and earned decent money. My ex-wife didn't own a business like mine. She worked for a business consulting firm and was earning well too. We had no kids because she said she wasn't ready, and I was okay with that. All through the 3 years of our marriage, I did my best as a good husband and even helped at home. I wanted more than anything for us to be happily married for as long as possible, offered to help in the kitchen, took her on surprise vacations, and did pretty much what a man would do to make the woman he loved happy. Even on my hectic and tired days, I made sure I went home early, never canceled on her, and most times I had to reschedule many things because I believed family was one of the most important aspects of life. Unlike other couples, my ex-wife and I barely fought. She was more of an extrovert, a very social butterfly, and the life of the party, while I was reserved to a level. So whenever we had a reason to argue, she was always at fault. And each time we were so close to fighting or arguing, I would always apologize because I wanted us to be at peace at all times. I know you all might think I did that as a weak man, but that's not why. I grew up in a very toxic environment. My parents were always fighting, and I did not want to replicate the same thing in my marriage. On our 3rd anniversary, we did a renewal of wedding vows, and almost 7 months after, I stumbled upon something that altered the rest of our marriage. That Saturday, I was cleaning the house, and I had every intention of cleaning our closet. My ex-wife and I shared a closet. She had been the only one cleaning it in the past. So I decided to take things out of the closet that day and thoroughly clean up. I started by taking things out of the closet, and once I was done cleaning and dusting, I tried to arrange and organize them again. While organizing, I mistakenly kicked open one of my wife's shoe boxes as I tried to move around, and many letters and pictures were scattered on the ground. At first, I was worried I kicked out one of her expensive shoes because she left the very expensive ones in a box, but after I saw the letters, I was relieved. Initially, I thought the letters were old letters from an old teenage lover, or maybe there were letters she had never sent, and I was curious to find out how foolish in love she was at that time. But as I looked at them closely, I noticed recently added letters, which piqued my curiosity. As soon as I got down to the 4th line of one of the recently added letters, I felt my lower stomach churn, and my heartbeat increased, and as I got to the end, my world shattered. I was right. There were letters from an old lover, and it was her high school crush. The letter I read detailed one of their recent escapades. There were even photos of them lying under the sheets together. It wasn't just one letter, there were more of them, and one of them even talked about the night before our wedding and how they enjoyed each other in bed. I wanted to be sure of what I read, so I went through all of the letters and realized their relationship had been going on even while we were dating. Needless to ask if I was heartbroken, because I was beyond heartbroken. I was devastated and hurt. And in my 37 years on earth, the second time a woman had hurt me so much. The worst part was that I never saw it coming and would never believe my wife would cheat. I don't know how she did it because nothing was alarming about her. She still cared for me in the house and satisfied my bed needs, and I never suspected her or noticed anything fishy. I have watched a few videos on this channel where men say their wives changed suddenly or dressed differently, but with my ex-wife, there was no sign. Everything remained the same, and our love for each other grew over the years too. That same afternoon she returned home and acted like everything was cool, but how I saw her changed. I tried to hide it, but it was not as easy as I imagined. It hurt so much that I loved her blindly, but she took my love for granted and cheated on me. The good thing was she was hosting her high school reunion, which was only a few days away. I had already scanned the letters and photos and intended to send them straight to her parents, but I got an idea from one of the stories I listened to here. As a part of their high school reunion, she created a slideshow of all her memories in high school, and I saw that as a revenge. A night before her dear reunion, I secretly planted the letter and photos I scanned in her slideshow, almost at the beginning, and I waited for her to humiliate herself publicly. On D-Day, everyone gathered as planned, both from near and far, and they were all having a good time. At the venue, I saw her crush, and she exchanged a couple of smiles with him. Honestly, I almost lost it, but I didn't want to ruin my perfect plan. Eventually, the time for her slideshow came, and just as she was smiling at the screen and expecting to see another of her teenage, hot girl pictures, the picture of her and her high school crush under the sheet popped up and her mouth dropped. She was so shocked. But it wasn't just her. Her friends and classmates were shocked too. And just as she was trying to wrap her head around what was happening, the last slideshow came with an instruction from me, which read, "Don't come home tonight. We are getting divorced." Immediately she read that, she turned in my direction and ran towards me, but I walked out of the venue. Before I left, I could see the disappointment on the faces of her friends and classmates, and it appeased me. That night, she did not come home as I had instructed, but she kept blowing my phone with calls, text messages, and voicemails. One of her voicemails said she could explain, and it wasn't what I thought. The next day, I received a package I ordered. They were pillows in huge gift bags with the picture of her and her affair partner printed on them, and I sent them along with her stuff to her parents' house. I also dropped the letters and original pictures on their WhatsApp family group chat and exited the group. As expected, her parents tried to call, but I blocked their and my ex-wife's numbers too. When the divorce papers were ready, my lawyer reached out to her, and she signed them after delaying for a while. Although it's so painful, I'm glad we are not together anymore. Now, I get why most people kick against the idea of getting married, and I think I might fall in love one day, but I'm done with getting married and repeating the cycle with unfaithful women.